Hey everyone, thank you as always for joining me today for a very special video. Before we go any further, I have to say that I just hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. This video is basically going to be my 1,000 subscriber celebration. I don't really do videos like that very often, but this is a time to celebrate. I have been working so hard on this channel for the past 3 years to get it to this point, and I know most of the success that this channel is currently having is because of the Buckingham McVie video, but from the bottom of my heart, guys, like, truly, thank you so much for all the wonderful comments, even some of the not so wonderful ones. I have just really appreciated hearing everyone, coming forward to hear their own stories of Fleetwood Mac and how this band really brings us all together. We may not all agree on who the best singer is or what the best song is or the best album is, but I think we can all agree that Fleetwood Mac is just an incredible band with a long history. And I think it's time that we do a celebration of the entire band, not just individual members. So I'm going to be ranking all 17 Fleetwood Mac studio albums today, and plus a handful of solo albums, live albums, and greatest hits albums that I feel like help in the overall story and journey of Fleetwood Mac. Before I start the ranking, I'll go ahead and go over my album tier rankings. At the very top, we have Album of the Year, which I feel like is very self-explanatory. An Album of the Year album did everything that it needed to do. It debuted at number 1, it had all the Grammys, all the Billboard Awards, all the MTV Music Video Awards, the American Music Awards, even the European MTV Awards. It got everything it needed to have. It had multiple chart-topping singles, sold over millions of copies globally, and is a force to be reckoned with within the industry. There is no beating an Album of the Year album, honestly. The next tier down we have is Double Platinum, and hey, a Double Platinum category ain't nothing to scoff at. A Double Platinum album still did what they needed to do. They may have become in the beginning of the career or later on in the career, they helped keep the career going. They still had multiple hit singles. Maybe none of them reached number 1 or only one reached number 1, but it still did what it needed to do. It still won tons of awards. It still got the acclaim. It still got you to the red carpet, and it is still remembered fondly by fans. And multiple Fleetwood Mac albums have been certified double platinum. You'll be hard pressed to find a Fleetwood Mac album that doesn't have a certification of any kind. Speaking of which, the next tier down is going to be the gold tier. Now, the gold tier is a little. Let's talk about the gold tier. Gold tier ain't nothing to scoff at either, honestly. And hey, if you get certified gold, I mean, that's still an accomplishment. There have been bitches that have been working in the industry their entire careers and don't have a gold album. LaToya Jackson is the only member of the Jackson family that does not have a gold certified album. And I don't mean that to disparage on LaToya at all. I used to be a closet LaToya Jackson stan. I still kind of am. She's got some bops. Look her up. She's pretty good. And the gold tier is kind of like, maybe you put an album out that didn't really hit really well, maybe it's a cult classic. Maybe it didn't do everything it needed to do, but it still got leagues of fans. It still made a mark, and it still had a hit single here or two. And it's got its fans. It's nothing to scoff at. It's still going to get the respect that it deserves. And so you're going to find maybe that the gold tier is going to be a little controversial, I think, in this video. But we'll get there. All right, we'll get there. The next tier down is the I Don't Know Her tier. Let me explain that real quick. As big of a Fleetwood Mac fan as I am, there are some albums that I just haven't really gone through yet just because they don't really interest me all that well. You'll find this mostly from the Peter Green era, but there's a handful of albums from that middle section that the band had right before the Buckingham Nicks era that I still don't really go to very often. And I don't think it's fair to put them at the very bottom just because I haven't really had a lot of experience with them, and it's just not for me, or it's just not my style of music. And then not that they're bad albums or anything, I literally don't know them. So I put that there so people don't get up in a fissy when I don't rank their favorite, or if I put one of their favorite albums that I just don't care for there. And as bad as the I Don't Know Her tier may be to you guys, I can assure you that I Don't Know Her tier is leagues above the Discount Rack tier, which is the last tier on the list. The Discount Rack tier is like, why did you even put this out? This was destined to be sold in the $3.99 bin at Walgreens. All right? Who is this for? Who listens to this still? That's the Discount Rack tier. Okay, and thank God I went through this list before I made this video just to kind of see where my selections were going to be, and very, very, very few albums landed in this tier. I had quite a few albums in the I don't know her tier though, so, and the gold tier too. I can't wait for this. This is going to be controversial, but once again, before we get started, if I don't rank your favorite album on top, just know that these are my own opinions. I'm not saying that I'm the arbiter of good taste by any means. This is just how I view Fleetwood Mac and the various individual projects that I have come to know and love from them. So, without any further ado, let's get on ahead with ourselves with this ranking. And I think a really good starting point would be the Buckingham Nicks LP right here. As you don't know, this was the very first commercial release from either Stevie Nicks or Lindsey Buckingham, and it was the album that got them discovered by Mick Fleetwood, and it's pretty much the reason that they were able to join the band. This album didn't do very well, didn't do anything actually when it came out. It had a really big cult following in Birmingham, Alabama, of all places. I know that's really strange, but the album is definitely a cult classic now, and I couldn't think of any other place to put this album other than the double platinum tier. It's not exactly album of the year. This is a very rough, raw album, and they used a lot of the same kind of songs or themes or styles in some of their later Fleetwood Mac albums, and I feel like those versions are better because they had, more time to produce. They had the full band behind them, and so they had a bigger budget, obviously. But no, double platinum, absolutely, because it deserved double platinum. I mean, this album is so good, and Frozen Love is one of the most important songs in rock and roll history. So I can't think of it in a better place for it. It's not exactly album of the year, but it did what it needed to do. So it is going squarely in the double platinum tier. All right, next up we have a Fleetwood Mac album from the early days. I think this is a compilation album. It's called The Pious Good Omen. I don't know what's on this album, honestly, and so I'm putting it in the I don't know her tier. I'm sure it's got probably Black Magic Woman or Rattlesnake Shake. Maybe it has Oh Well or Albatross. I'm not sure. All of those are fantastic Peter Green songs. But I don't know what's on there, so unfortunately has to go in the I don't know her tier. Belladonna, Stevie Nicks' first solo album. Where to put this one? I really do love Stevie Nicks, like I do. I truly do. And there's been a lot of stuff being reported in the news right now about Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. I'm not going to comment on that in this video because that's not what this video is about. I do have to say that I view Stevie Nicks' music and her solo work under an increasingly harsher lens just because I feel like her best material she definitely saved for Fleetwood Mac. I mean, up until like the beginning of her solo career, then it was the opposite. Like her best songs were on her solo records, except for maybe Gypsy and Straight Back. Those are some pretty good Mirage songs that she did. Belladonna came right before that, though, and you can definitely tell this continues the sound that she started accumulating in Tusk, and that kind of harder rock with a nice edge to it, Edge of 17. This isn't my favorite Stevie Nicks solo album, though, but it is definitely a classic of the genre and one of the all-time best solo albums ever made, so I'm going to put it in the double platinum category, right next to Buckingham Nicks. I feel like that's a good place for it. And, yeah. And you'll see when we get to my favorite Stevie Nicks solo album, that's probably an album of the year album. But we'll talk about it when I get there. Next up, we have the Fleetwood Mac album Play On, which I think this is the third album by them, and this is the last album to feature any participation by Peter Green. Now this has, I know this has Oh Well, I think it had Rattlesnake Shake, which is one of my all-time favorite Peter Green songs. If you don't know Rattlesnake Shake, it's pretty funny. I'm not going to say what the song is about, but if you feel pretty lonely and maybe spend a little bit too much time in the incognito tab on your phone, then you'll know what I'm getting at. But anywho, and is it And Play On? Yes, And Play On. I gotta be honest though, I don't know all the songs on this album, but the songs that I do know are just so amazing. that it definitely makes it worthy of double platinum status. So it's going in there. I know a lot of you are going to come at me and say it's one of the best albums, blah, 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 blah. Next up is Rumours. Album of the year. Hands down. There. I don't even need to talk about why that is up there. And if you need me to discuss it, then why are you even watching this video? Rumours was album of the year at the Grammys, I believe. I think it was the only Grammy that it won, actually, which is pretty weird. Yeah, and this video and everything that Fleetwood Mac did afterwards wouldn't be possible without Rumours. It is a perfect album. My favorite songs are probably Silver Springs and You Make Love and Fun. I know Silver Springs isn't on the original album, but it belongs there. So that's why it's going in now. Do you disagree? Do you think it goes anywhere else? Please let me know. Next up we have is the Fleetwood Mac Greatest Hits album from 1988. I put this on here because this is one of their best-selling albums, first of all. It's one of the best, I think, Greatest Hits compilation packages. I say that, but it doesn't include anything that wasn't in specifically the Buckingham Nicks Rumours era lineup of the band. So you're not going to find any Peter Green music. You're not going to find any Bob Welch music, that's for sure. You're not going to find anything that wasn't a hit single. That being said, there are two new songs on this album that are really good. One by Christine and one by Stevie. And this era of the band is really underrated. This is when I think Billy Burnett and Billy Vito, both of their names, Billy, I think, I don't know, when the two guitarists that replaced Lindsey Buckingham in the late 80s came on. And they did some really good work, too. When we get to Behind the Mask, I'll talk a little bit about that. But I think this album definitely deserves to be on here because it's one of the best-selling Greatest albums of all time, one of the best-selling Fleetwood Mac albums of all time. I'm thinking it is going to go with... Also, you know what? I'm going to put it in Album of the Year. Because how do you put this anything else, honestly, when it has the songs that it has on it? It's just an incredible collection, and then those new songs are really good too. So yeah, Album of the Year. I said what I had to say. Next up is going to be the Fleetwood Mac live album. I think this is the 1981, the one that was taken from the Tusk World Tour. This has got some really good live versions. It's got a really great version of Over and Over, Monday Morning. Lindsey Buckingham's version of Oh Well is really good. Yeah, it's some really great stuff on here. I think, and it has one of my favorite Stevie Nicks songs, Fireflies, which was it never recorded in a studio, which I believe, and it was actually not even performed. I think during the tour. I think it was that version that's on the album was performed during a sound check or a private concert for fans and family. So that's really interesting. And it was released as a single. It made it to number 60, I think. So I'm gonna put that in the double platinum category just because it's a really great live album. And if you don't know this, the Tusk tour was really known for its indulgences and its overspending. And so they had to pretty much record every single show to try to, salvage the expenses. And that's why this album came out, is partially driven to try to turn a profit on the Tusk tour because it was not making money, even though it was so successful. But next up, we have Bare Trees. I love this album, and I know exactly where it's going. It is going in Album of the Year. It is the second album that Bob Welch did, and it is the final album to feature participation from Danny Kerwin. I'll do a video on Danny here pretty soon. He's such an underrated figure, and such a tragic figure, too, within the history of Fleetwood Mac, and in rock and roll music in general. His music deserves more love. His first song on this album is Child of Mine. It is such a great, hard, psychedelic-y, folky kind of rock song. Him and Christine and Bob did some really amazing music together. They had some great vocal harmonies on here. Christine, this was when she started coming into her own. Bob Welch, his classic hit, Sentimental Lady, is on here. It's got one of the best album artworks. It's just such a vibey, ethereal album. And I think the album artwork does such a good job in capturing the tone and atmosphere of this album. So, Album of the Year, fight me, I don't care. It was certified platinum in the US after the Buckingham Nicks era, and it was incredibly popular with college radio. So, once again, fight me. Next up is Behind the Mask. Ooh, yeah. I love talking about this album because it's such an underrated album, too. This was the first and only album to be recorded by that late lineup I told you about when they replaced Lindsey Buckingham. And they recorded songs for the Fleetwood Mac Greatest Hits album. They recorded new songs, I believe, for the Chain box set. There's some really great new songs on there. I can't believe I didn't put that box set on here. But unfortunately, that lineup did not last very long. Stevie Nicks left, and I think Billy Vito also left, and Billy Burnett was the only one who left, who stayed on for the next album, Time. But this one's got some good songs. Even though I didn't get good reviews, it still got, I think, certified gold or platinum in the US. It had the last big original hit single, Save Me, by Christine McVie. She's got some great songs on here. She was pretty much like the creative force of the band up at this point. She wrote the most amount of songs. Stevie Nicks has a couple of good songs in here too. But her output was really lacking by this time. I want to put this in the double platinum category. I really do, but without Lindsey Buckingham, and it just has this adult contemporary sound to it that didn't age really well, and I don't know. I feel like they lost a lot of their edge during this time, even though the music still melodically sounded amazing. So I think I'm going to put this in the gold category. Gold, like I said, still did what it needed to do in a way, and it may not be the best, but it's certainly not bad. I would just say maybe slightly mediocre. Yeah, mediocre is what I would go for. Next up, we have the Bob Welch solo album, his first solo album, I believe. I gotta be honest, I only know the singles off of this album, but I would absolutely hate myself if I did not include something from Bob Welch on this list. And so I picked a solo album because it has Ebony Eyes and Sentimental Lady, two really great songs. They were both big hits for him too. They feature input from Fleetwood Mac, at least Sentimental Lady does. And so I think I'm going to put this in the gold category as well, right next to Behind the Mask. I think it's a good place for it. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I would highly recommend it, especially his re-recorded version of Sentimental Lady. It's quite good. And it was co-produced by Lindsey Buckingham and features Christine on background vocals. So, I mean, hey, there you go. Next up, we have the Christine McVie solo album. Oh my gosh, I love this album so much. If you watch my Christine video, I gushed about this, like, just nonstop. It is one of the most underrated albums I think ever made. It's one of the most underrated albums of the 80s by far. Just a great collection of wonderful melodic pop rock. And album of the year for me, absolutely. I can't think of another place where I would put this. Every single song on this album is a banger. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. I just really, really, really love this album. And I think the next album on the list is a great companion piece for that album, Fleetwood Mac's Tango in the Night. It was released in the late 80s. This was when Fleetwood Mac really embraced the 80s synthesizer, that kind of lush melodic-y sound that they had really taken over by then. And they do it so well. I think of all the 70s and 60s bands that made the transition into the 80s, I think Fleetwood Mac did it probably the best. Because their music was already pretty, light and, pop rocky before. And that particular sound works really well, I think, with the synthesizer in the late 80s. There were so many great, soft rock albums of the 80s. And so I'm going to put this in the album of the year category, too. It's their second best-selling album besides Rumours. It had multiple hit singles. It did really well in the UK. I think the UK finally embraced this version of Fleetwood Mac after, almost 15 years. I mean, the from the White Album up until Mirage and Tusk, they struggled really to get a foothold in the UK, to have hit singles and to top the charts. But they finally managed to break through with Tango in the Night, just showing you how much taste the British really have. It is incredibly successful, and I can't think of another place for it besides the top tier. So, dang, let's look at this. We already got 5 albums in the top tier. See, this is what I'm talking about. Fleetwood Mac don't put out a lot of mediocre music, but when they, and when they hit it so good. This next one is probably going to piss some people off. This is the debut album, the Fleetwood Mac Peter Green album. And I gotta be honest, I've only listened to maybe 1 or 2 songs off of here. I don't know it. I'm sorry. So it's going in the I don't know her category. And I know this is the second of the Peter Green albums that are going in the I don't know her category. I don't want you guys to think I don't like Peter Green, because I really do. I really do appreciate his music and his guitar playing. It's just his time with the band was so short, and he didn't make a whole lot of music with them. And it's so sad. So I have to put it there. But don't feel bad, because I'm putting the next album there too, which is Lindsey Buckingham's first solo album, Law and Order. I gotta be honest, the only reason I put this album here is because I didn't want the Lindsey Buckingham fans coming for me in the comments saying that I didn't give him any recognition in the tier rankings. And I only know one song from this album, Trouble, the lead single, which made it to number 10, I believe, and features Mick Fleetwood. It's kind of a basic song, though. I mean, I kind of like his Holiday Road. If you don't know, Lindsey Buckingham did Holiday Road, which is the theme song to the National Lampoon's movies. Holiday Road, Holiday Road. That song. I like that song a lot better than Trouble. Maybe I should just put the single for A Holiday Road on here. It's a decent song. I like it. I should probably go and listen to this album, because I feel bad about this category. Like, I don't want to insult any of these albums. I don't know them. And so that's why it's there. And so I'm going to make it. After this video, I'm going to listen to all the albums I've put into the I don't know her category. And then I'll do another ranking video, probably with another tier or whatever. And then we'll decide, and then we'll know for sure how I feel about them. And then I would love to listen to all the solo albums too that I haven't listened to yet. So I can do like a grand, that would be such a massive undertaking. That would be an epic video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do that. Okay, next up is the 1975 self-titled Fleetwood Mac album. This is the second self-titled album, and this is kind of like also their second debut album in a way. How many bands do you know that have that? They have 2 albums that are named like pretty much, they're self-titled, and they're both considered debut albums, and they were released like quite a bit apart. This was the first album to feature input from Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. It's the first album of the classic Rumours lineup, and so, and I'm going to say something that may be a little controversial, but some people agree with me on this. I think that this album is actually better than Rumours. I think it's more raw, it's more fresh. It is, you can really feel that this group of people just found each other, and they're already, excited about the music that they're making, and it's got so many great classics on there. I mean, Rumours is obviously a classic, and nobody needs to tell us that. I mean, but this album kind of gets overlooked, I think, because, as successful as it was, Rumours just was even so much more successful. And I think that's why a lot of the later Fleetwood Mac albums, I have kind of a negative, reputation, is because they didn't sell as well, or they were considered to be inferior to this particular era. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a better album, and it stands amongst the best. So it is going in the Album of the Year category. I really love Warm Ways, Say You Love Me, Landslide, Crystal. I think the Crystal version on this album is better than the Buckingham Nicks version. I'm So Afraid, one of Lindsey's all-time, and when we get to the dance album, oh my gosh. One of his all-time best. Is a Blue Letter? That's a pretty good song. They've never performed that live, too. And it was one of the only songs that wasn't written by them, either. I wonder why they recorded that. It's a good song, though. So, Fleetwood Mac, White Album. Definitely going in the Album of the Year category. The next album, and this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial one, the Mirage album. Okay, so this album came out right after Stevie Nicks' first solo record, and it was their first album that they released since Tusk. Tusk was not considered a commercial success upon release, and it's only in hindsight that people consider it to be very good. I don't know. So here's the thing about Mirage. Mirage is definitely one of those albums that was like, okay, so our last album wasn't a huge hit. We have to make something that's kind of commercial and chasing our previous success. And a lot of the lyrical themes, too, on Mirage are about looking back, being nostalgic, remembering things, that sort of mindset. And I think also Stevie Nicks' booming solo career was looming over this whole thing, and her songs are kind of lightweight. I like Straight Back, and that's all right. It's very country. It's not for me. Gypsy is the only song that she put out during this era with Fleetwood Mac, and arguably, since her solo career began, that matches up with her previous 70s work. Within her with Fleetwood Mac, obviously within her solo career, she's done better. Excuse me, she's done better. But and then Lindsey Buckingham's work on this album was also kind of lightweight. Christine was the only one that was kind of firing on all cylinders. I mean, she had Hold Me, Love in Store, what was that one song? I Wish You Were Here. I really love that one. She did good. She did what she needed to do. I like Oh Diane, I guess. That was the only song, too, that was a hit in the UK, ironically enough. So, I don't know. I feel like the band is just not... The album was a success, and it was kind of their first like big MTV album. It had some amazing music videos. But I think overall, it did not click for me the way it was supposed to click. It did what it needed to do, I guess, following Tusk, which is have hit singles and, sell well and debut at number one, or make it to number one, which it did for 5 weeks. But unfortunately, it didn't do anything else for me besides that. So, with the exception of a few songs, I'm unfortunately going to have to place Mirage in the gold category. The gold still did what it needed to do, though. Remember that. The gold is not bad. It's just kind of mediocre and not their best. It wasn't their best. I mean, but if that's the worst that you can say about the album, then I think it's still pretty good. Next up is the second album by Fleetwood Mac, Mr. Wonderful. And I'm just going to be honest, I don't know. Let me look and see what's on this album. If it has at least, like, Rattlesnake Shake or Albatross, then I'll feel better. Stop Messing Around, I've Lost My Baby, Rollin' Man, Dust My Broom, Love That Burns. I love that one. Okay, so Love That Burns and Coming Home. Those are two good songs too. Okay. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Mr. Wonderful in the gold category, but I'm going to make a note of it to also listen to it along with the albums in the I Don't Know Her category. Because those songs that I listed were on another compilation album called English Rose, and I probably should have put English Rose on this album, on this chart too. But those were some good songs. And so yeah, I will give Mr. Wonderful a shot as well. And I want to disparage Peter Green era any more than I already have. So it's going in the gold category. Next up, we have Stevie Nicks' third studio album, Rock a Little. I put this on here because it does have a couple of hits, and it was kind of like her last big, like, notable studio album for quite some time. And so I'm going to put that in the gold category because I feel like this was already a sign that her star power was starting to wane. She was really in the throes of drug addiction by this point. She was, I think, about to go into rehab, and then that kickstarted the Klonopin addiction, which festered for another decade almost. And so, it wasn't a good era for Stevie Nicks. Let's just put it that way. It's still a really great album. It has I Can't Wait, which is a really great, like, synthy rock song. Has a cool music video. This is also when her voice really started to become more nasally and a bit more damaged. So this was kind of not, it was a sign of a decline, but it was still a solid enough project that I think it warrants discussion and it has merit to it. So if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend it. Next up is the Fleetwood Mac live album, The Dance. Now, everyone probably knows this. This was like their second big comeback album in the late 90s when they reunited again for the first time, since Tango in the Night. They played all the classic songs. They had some great new songs. And then they, several songs that, previously had been overlooked finally got their dues. Silver Springs, Landslide, some of the songs from Tango in the Night. Lindsey Buckingham got a real good chance to shine here. His version of I'm So Afraid, one of the all-time best live performances. That song is so powerful when it is done live. Thank you so much to my friend Evan Bigham for introducing me to that song. Shout out to Evan. He's a really cool guy. He also introduced me to some really great music. The dance. What do I rank this? It's definitely not gold. I feel like it's better than double platinum, but I don't know if it's album of the year, because it's a live album and some of the new songs are good. I feel like though Fleetwood Mac definitely relied more and more on like background players and background vocalists the further and further they got into their career and the older that they got. So you'll hear a lot of, like the vocal harmonies on this one are really driven by, I think, the backup vocalists for sure. So I think it just loses some of its punch, I think. It's still an amazing live album, immaculately produced. And, it went to #1. It sold millions of copies. And it was like really the catalyst for Fleetwood Mac, coming back into the public conscious after like a long era of decline. So I'm going to put it in the double platinum category because it's what it deserves, honestly. And I think it was certified like 5 times platinum out, honestly. So it got more than that. And it's right next to the other Fleetwood Mac live album. So I think that they make a great pair, those two. So, yes. And look at that. So far, absolutely nothing in the discount rack. That's amazing. Next up, we have Tusk. Another easy, hands down album of the year pick. Tusk is severely underrated at times by the fan base. I know a lot of people criticized it at the time when it came out because it was a lot less, commercial. It was more experimental. Lindsey Buckingham dominates the track list, and so it rubbed people the wrong way a long time. But I think it's gotten its fans now. It's definitely gotten its flowers. Has some of the all-time best Stevie Nicks songs on there. My all-time favorite Christine songs are on there. Even Peter Green came back to play on Brown Eyes. Sarah, great single. Tusk is still one of the most weirdest songs to ever to be made a single, but I think it works. It's a fun, weird song, but I like it. Over and Over, one of the all-time best Christine songs. I think I already said that. Sisters of the Moon, and so good. The album of the year, obviously, for a reason. All right, next up we have, I think, the 2013 Fleetwood Mac EP, which is just called Extended Play. I think it's interesting. So one of the songs on here is apparently like a demo that was reworked from the Buckingham McVie era, so that's pretty fun. Sad Angel is a really great song from Stevie Nicks, and it has Lindsey and Stevie harmonizing on each other. I don't know who wrote the song. I think it might be a Lindsey track. I don't know. It is a good song. I don't know though. This is just like, it seems so random. Like you put 4 songs out and then you don't do anything with them really, and then bam, that's it. I think it should have just been an album, or maybe you should just put it on another Greatest Hits album or something. I don't know. It's not gold. Unfortunately, I think it's discount rack because it's so lightweight and it's just 4 songs. And at this point in their career, I don't know if people really want to hear new music from Fleetwood Mac. I wouldn't mind, obviously. And when we get to the last album on this ranking, my feelings on the matter will be different. But yeah, as for right now, that's where it's going. Next up, we have Penguin, which was another Bob Welch middle era album. This one isn't as good as Bare Trees or Future Games or even Mystery to Me. It's got a couple good songs on there though, from Christine and Bob. Dissatisfied, Bright Fire, really great Bob Welch song. If you liked Future Games, I think you'll really like Bright Fire. It has kind of the same vibe to it. So I'm going to put it in the gold category because it's kind of, I don't really know anything else really besides those couple songs, and I don't really revisit this era, this particular late mid era, like the Bare Trees and Future Games and Mystery to Me. I love those albums, but Penguin and then Heroes Are Hard to Find, I don't really care much for those, unfortunately. So let's move on. Next up, we have my favorite Stevie Nicks solo album, The Wild Heart. And I think this one is better for a multitude of reasons. I think Stevie sounds more confident. Some of the songs hit harder. She got even more people to appear on the album than last time. Like Prince is on the lead single Stand Back. That's one of Stevie Nicks' all-time most popular solo hits. Nothing Ever Changes is one of my all-time favorite Stevie Nicks songs. It's one of my most played songs by her. It's a really great rocker. Overall, I think in the album, artwork, everything, her image and what she was building as a solo artist really came together, I think, with this one. Nightbird, so good. So good. You know what? I'm just going to put it in Album of the Year because that's where it belongs. And if you disagree with me, I'm sorry, we don't agree. But you're more than willing to fight me in the comments. And let me know what your favorite Stevie Nicks songs are while you're at it, so we can fight some more. But I think Wild Heart is a solid solo project. It's amazing, and it really helped, I think, drive home that Stevie was the true star of Fleetwood Mac by this point, and she could more than capable of holding her own as a solo artist. So next up, we're going to have Kiln House. Yeah, Kiln House. I'm going to be honest, I've only heard maybe one or two songs from this album, and I haven't heard them in full. The vibe and style of the album is kind of 50s, doo-wop, and I don't know what Danny Kerwin's doing. This was the first album that kind of featured any sort of input from Christine McVie. She did the cover art, and she played on the keyboards. But I don't know this album, and it's not for me. And it's a really weird, this is the first album that came out without Peter Green. There's a really weird direction for them to go in. And so I think that's probably part of the reason why Jeremy Spencer left shortly after this, too. He's the one who did all of the 50s parodies and songs on the album. But I'm not going to put it on the discount rack because I don't know her. So it's going in the I don't know her category. And let's just leave it at that. Next up is going to be Future Games. This album is the first album to feature input from Bob Welch and also Christine McVie as a full-fledged solo member. So we get the first Christine solo songs on this album. I believe they are Morning Rain, which is a really great Christine song. I don't know what her other one is. Sometimes, maybe, I think it's called. I don't know. But and Future Games, the track on there is really good. Sands of Time is another good Danish song. There's some good songs on here. It's a little too short. There's only 7 full songs, and then the last song is kind of like a jam. What a Shame, which is not for me at all. So I think those particular criticisms bring the album down. It's not, album of the year, and I don't think it's double platinum. Even though I do like Morning Rain and Future Games, the songs, they're definitely the highlights. So I'm going to put it in the gold category. And I think it's kind of funny too. The album artwork for this is yellow, but I have the green version. There were 2 different colored versions of it. I think it's really pretty. But yeah, gold for Future Games, and fight me in the comments if you disagree. Next up, we're going to have Mystery to Me, one of the all-time best middle era Fleetwood Mac albums. Has Bob Welch's best song he probably ever did, Hypnotized. Some of Christine's more polished works. Her music by this point was getting really solid, and you could tell the direction she was going to go in when Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined. Just Crazy Love and Why, the last song, those could easily have been Fleetwood Mac, Buckingham Nicks era songs, and nobody would have been the wiser. And Miles Away, another really great Bob Welch track. He also did a cover of For Your Love by the Byrds, which I really enjoy. So I think this is definitely going in the double platinum category. It's not exactly album of the year. I think if it had a couple more solid songs, or maybe there's some weird production elements, they go into reggae for some reason in 1 or 2 of the songs, which is a really odd choice. So yeah, Mystery to Me is going in the double platinum category, and I feel like it belongs there. So yeah, absolutely. Next up is going to be the Fleetwood Mac Say You Will, which is, as of to date, their last studio album. The last album to feature input by Lindsey Buckingham, and is kind of like their last big successful project they came out with. It was in the early 2000s. I think it had one single, Peacemaker, which I've heard before, and I've also heard the Stevie Nicks title track, Say You Will, in malls and on the radio before. So it made an impact. I think it was certified gold, and it made it to number 3. It sold a lot. It sold really well. I just don't know this album very well, to be honest. And the songs I do like, or the songs I have heard, I don't necessarily like them that well. Like Peacemaker and Say You Will, they're okay. But I mean, the production on this album is very like, it's very, very, very polished to the point of being overproduced. And it sounds anemic too. Like I feel like Christine is missing. I feel like that's part of it. There's just something that's lacking. And so it doesn't have that punch that Fleetwood Mac albums used to have. And I haven't heard most of it, to be honest, for that reason. So I'm not going to put it on the discount rack, but I'm not going to put it in gold either. So I think that only leaves I Don't Know Her, unfortunately. So I guess I'll have to make a mental note to listen to that album a bit more and see if I can find some solid tracks. I've heard Throwdown is pretty good. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Next up is going to be Time, the only album released by the middle era Fleetwood Mac lineup from the 90s, which didn't have Stevie Nicks, didn't have Lindsey Buckingham, and one of the guitarists that replaced him had already left, and then they replaced him with another, I think Dave Mason or whatever, I'm not sure, and then Becca Bramlett, who is the daughter of the duo Bonnie and Delaney, I think. Bonnie and Delaney. I'm not sure. Bonnie Bramlett was on Roseanne. She was Roseanne's friend Bonnie, who worked with her in the diner, if you remember her. She could sing, too. She could really sing. This album is not good. I'm not gonna mince words. Even Christine, she can't save this album. And her songs are some of the worst of her career. I mean, the lyrically, they're fine. And I think vocally, she sounds great, too. There's only one song on this album that I can't even say I kind of sort of like. 2. Hollywood, This Kind of Town, and All Over Again, both of which are Christine songs. They actually did All Over Again on the most recent tour. I thought was pretty fun. Other than that, this album is probably the low point of the band's commercial output. It didn't make a dent on the charts at all. No hit singles. Was laughed at. The band was actually performing in like theme parks and as a part of like a 3-act billing with like Pat Benatar and Journey. Like things were really bad and getting really sad around this time. So I'm going to put it in the discount rack. Honestly, it's probably the only album that truly belongs there. Even Extended Play is better than Time. But I'm not going to change the ranking, so it'll sit right there. It has a mate now, so it won't be alone. The second to last album is going to be Heroes Are Hard to Find. I've already mentioned this before. This album just doesn't do it for me. I've tried to listen to it. I don't know. There's something. Some people really like it. I don't know. I'm going to put it in the I Don't Know Her category because I barely am aware of it. I don't really know any of the songs besides Bermuda Triangle, another kind of solid Bob Welch track. I think Angel too is another really good song. So I'll make a mental note to check it out. But yeah, I think it's going in the I Don't Know Her category. Last but certainly not least is going to be the Lindsey Buckingham Christine McVie album, also called Buckingham McVie by fans. This is so far the last project from any member of Fleetwood Mac, besides Stevie Nicks, of course. This was a really, really solid collection of songs. I was really looking forward to this. I actually went to the tour that this was in support of, and almost all the Fleetwood Mac members play on it besides Stevie Nicks. I really wish she had maybe contributed some songs or sang on some of these, because this could have been a great Fleetwood Mac album. It would have sold a lot better had it been, and I think we could have gotten maybe a small hit single out of this, and they could have toured for it. This would have been the note to go out on, not this drama that's going on now. I mean, you guys are too old for this. Ugh, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and I'm not going to do it. But yeah, Christine wrote some incredible songs. Red Sun, Carnival Begin. Lindsey Buckingham did some really great stuff. Lay Down for Free and Too Far Gone. Really great tracks there. I really enjoyed this album. Production-wise, it has some of the same problems that Say You Will had. It sounds a little anemic and overproduced, but I think Christine definitely brings something to the table that is missing in the Say You Will album. So I think for that reason alone, it is gonna double platinum. See, I don't know. Is it as good as Buckingham Nicks, Donna, Play On, the 2 live albums, and Mystery to Me? I'm gonna say yes. Buckingham McVie going in the double platinum category. And there you have it. That's all the Fleetwood Mac albums ranked. I think this is a very good ranking. I mean, look at the album of the year ranking. Rumours, the Greatest Hits album, Bare Trees, Christine McVie solo album, Tango in the Night, Fleetwood Mac White album, Tusk. Just top tier. Top tier. That is a great collection of music right there. And I do realize this is all Buckingham McVie era music besides the Bare Trees album and the Greatest album to an extent. And maybe many of you are mad that I didn't put in Play On or more Peter Green albums there. I still have some, searching to do with Fleetwood Mac. I am not done with my Fleetwood Mac journey yet. So, would you guys maybe enjoy a reaction to some of this early Fleetwood Mac? I would love to do a reaction to maybe Kiln House and the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac album. Maybe Heroes Are Hard to Find. Maybe I'll find something good in there. Who knows? But let me know what you guys thought. What did you guys think of this video? What are your favorite Fleetwood Mac rank albums? And if you disagree with any of my picks, let me know. Fight me. Like I said, I would love to fight you back. This is a really fun video to make. And once again, I'm just so happy that, I finally reached 1,000 subscribers. And I have more ideas for ranking videos. I have more Fleetwood Mac videos coming. I have more original stories. I am always thinking of new ideas. So I trust me when I say more is on the way. But other than that, please leave me a comment with your favorite Fleetwood Mac albums ranked, and let me know what you thought of the video. I really enjoy engaging with you guys. As always, please take good care of yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you all again here real soon.